Welcome to this video presentation on the celebritization of U.S. service members during World War II. My name is Nicolas Haines with Professor Lopez's 8:30 Tuesday-Thursday U.S. History 1900 through 1945 class. Without further ado, let's begin. Prior to the 20th century, the U.S. was accustomed to military servicemen who gained fame and national admiration for their services being destined for public office, in particular the presidency. Two of the most famous cases being our first president, George Washington, and later at the beginning of the 20th, the legendary progressive Theodore Roosevelt. It would not be until World War II, however, that the common man, or rather, the common soldier, would be thrust into the limelight as a national celebrity. The man who would serve as America's prototypical celebrity soldier would be none other than Sergeant Alvin York, a man of humble origins from the mountains of Tennessee who was conscripted into the U.S. Army during World War I. Then Corporal York would receive the Medal of Honor for leading 7 soldiers in attacking a machine gun nest, resulting in the capture of 132 German soldiers and officers. Though this recognition would come after the war ended, York was an instant celebrity who caught the attention of actor Gary Cooper, who portrayed York in a motion picture based on the Medal of Honor action. America was not the only country to recognize the propaganda potential of celebritizing a grassroots war hero. Early in World War II, before America's entry, Germany had invaded the Soviet Union in June of 1941. Volunteering to protect her homeland was Lieutenant Lyudmila Pavlichenko, a Ukrainian-born woman in her early 20s who was first assigned as a nurse, but after demonstrating her extraordinary marksmanship skills, was assigned to become one of the Soviet Red Army's 2,000 female snipers. Pavlichenko earned the moniker Lady Death after tallying 309 enemy kills, 36 of which were achieved in duels with enemy snipers. After she was injured in a mortar attack, Joseph Stalin recognized her value as a propaganda tool, sending her to the U.S. in the hopes of spurring America into opening up a second front against the Germans. Becoming lifelong friends with First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, Pavlichenko toured the U.S., responding to the doubts and chauvinism of American men with the statement, "Gentlemen, I am 25 years old, and I have killed 309 fascist occupants by now. Don't you think, gentlemen, that you have been hiding behind my back for too long?" After the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor by the Empire of Japan, the U.S. would officially enter the war, and the Battle of Guadalcanal would produce America's first major war hero, Gunnery Sergeant Manila John Basilone, an Italian-American Marine assigned as a machine gun team leader during the Battle of Henderson Field. Basilone's actions would earn him the Medal of Honor, at which point he was brought back to the United States to serve as the spokesman for the Third War Loan Bond Drive. To quote writer Michael Frontani on his article on Basilone in the Italian-American Review, the foundational text in establishing Basilone as a public figure was the citation for the Medal of Honor awarded to him on June 23, 1943, which was referenced and quoted in great detail by the nation's press. He was in effect the star of the Third War Loan Drive, and his image was honed and celebrity exploited to maximize bond buying and support for the war effort. Though Basilone was a hero and a star in America's eyes, like many servicemen, he struggled with his sense of humility and survivor's guilt knowing his fellow Marines were still fighting the Japanese while he was safe at home on tour. Despite their initial unwillingness to risk the life of such a prominent figure, the Marine Corps ultimately acceded to Basilone's insistence on being returned to the front lines to fight alongside his comrades again. Fate would bring him to the invasion of Iwo Jima, where Basilone would once again lead his Marines courageously from the front, but tragically be killed in action on the first day of the battle. He would be posthumously awarded the Navy Cross, the only Marine to receive both that award and the Medal of Honor. With that, we now find ourselves in a battle famously cited by Fleet Admiral Chester Nimitz as being where uncommon valor was a common virtue, and the birth of one of America's greatest symbols of heroism, the flag raising on Mount Suribachi. According to James Bradley, author of the novel Flags of Our Fathers and son of Navy Corpsman John Bradley, this situation was unique. The photograph had created such a stir that the President of the United States was about to anoint the flag raisers government-appointed national heroes, yet no one knew who they were or what they had done. Taken by Associated Press photographer Joe Rosenthal, The iconic image of 6 U.S. Marines hoisting the American flag atop the extinct volcano is a tale all its own. Because their faces were not visible in the photo, half of the men were misidentified, and 3 of the actual flag raisers would die in battle on Iwo. In their haste to bring these men back to the U.S. to serve as living symbols for the 7th War Bond Drive, the government used the testimony of Corporal Rene Gagnon, a runner sent up the mountain with the replacement flag used in the photo, who misidentified himself and other Marines in the picture, such as PM2 John Bradley. The third Marine to return to the U.S. for the tour was in the photo, PFC Ira Hayes, and much like Gunnery Sergeant Basilone, found himself out of his depth as a war hero and celebrity. A Native American who volunteered for service with the Marine Corps Reserve and would become a para-Marine, or paratrooper, Hayes would battle survivors' guilt and PTSD, in addition to alcoholism and racial discrimination during the Bond tour. Hayes would bear these burdens long after the war ended, and sadly be found dead face down in a ditch. He would eventually receive the recognition he deserved, being masterfully portrayed by Native American actor Adam Beach in Clint Eastwood's adaptation of the novel Flags of Our Fathers as a major Hollywood motion picture. After World War II, the U.S. government would not actively romanticize war heroism to the public again. The Korean War became known as the Forgotten War. The Vietnam War was so unpopular with the public that service members would be denigrated upon their return home, and the First Gulf War was so quick and decisive, largely due to excellent planning and modern weaponry, leaving little distinction for individual troop actions to be recognized. After the September 11th terrorist attacks and the beginning of the global war on terror, the mass media and individual service members took the reins of celebritization on themselves, making use of the internet and social media to replace parades and bond tours. Individuals like PFC Jessica Lynch in Operation Iraqi Freedom, who was captured and rescued by Delta Force commandos, Marine Corporal Kyle Carpenter, who in Afghanistan shielded his buddy from a grenade with his own body and miraculously survived the encounter, earning him the Medal of Honor, and the late Chief Petty Officer Chris Kyle, a Navy SEAL sniper whose autobiography, American Sniper, was adapted into film by Clint Eastwood after Kyle's tragic death, helping a former Marine deal with PTSD. This new form of celebrity soldier would give rise to the commentary amongst those on active duty and veterans alike. Behind every good Navy SEAL is a good ghostwriter. But they owe this to the standards set by the government during World War II. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this as fascinating a subject as I had.